Welcome to Lobos Read. I'm Hailey.
And I'm Jadelin. Mr. Baker will be joining us in this podcast.
Hey, what's up?
In this episode, we will be talking about graphic novels. What brings you into graphic novels, Haley?
Well, I have checked out a lot of graphic novels in Mr. Baker's library, and I like to get graphic novels because I like the way that it's like a comic, but it doesn't like leave you hanging. It actually finishes the whole story, and I really like the way that there's art on it.
What draws you in graphic novels, Mr. Baker?
I've been a comic book reader for a very long time. I started reading comics back in like the late 80s, early 90s when I was a kid. And I was always a big Spider Man, X Man kind of guy. I actually used to get comic books in the mail back when they did that. But it's hard to keep up with it because in the 90s, comic books really blew up, especially Marvel and DC, and it was just impossible for me to keep up with everything. But what I could do was wait until they collected all the single issue comics into a collected graphic novel. Then I could get that and I could read an entire storyline all within a graphic novel. But as I grew up and I evolved as a reader, I realized that graphic novels were more than just superhero stories. There are graphic novels about every subject: nonfiction, fiction, biographies. So it really lets me kind of expand my reading. Graphic novels are a little bit faster to read as well. So I can get through a lot more stories and learn a lot more. And as a librarian and a teacher, I enjoy recommending graphic novels. One, to people who have difficulty reading regular novels. Like if they need a little extra help, they can usually get through a graphic novel. It's kind of a good a gateway into reading regular length novels. But it also helps with visual literacy, which is having your brain process not only words on the page, but having those words go with the images and the pictures on the page as well. So it's just a really cool format that's unlike anything else. Jadelin, why do you enjoy reading graphic novels?
I enjoy it because it has short sentences and it's like it has drawings in it. And I love art. And it's almost like a movie. It starts and it ends like basically what Haley said.
Yeah, that's really cool. Graphic novels are a really cool kind of mix of styles. The way that a lot of comics and graphic novels are created is that you have your two teams. You have your writing team and you have your art team. A lot of the times, the art team and the writing team don't really even know each other right away. Sometimes an author will submit a script for a graphic novel, which will just kind of be a basic layout where it'll kind of look like the panels, but the writer isn't necessarily going to do the art for it. They may do some basic sketches, but they're going to write out the dialogue and they're going to write out kind of what the layout of the page should be, and then gets passed on to an art team. So you're going to have your kind of your sketch artist, you're going to have your penciler, you're going to have your inkers and your color people, you're going to have the uh, someone who does the lettering, and that all comes together into this amazing kind of, like you said, piece of art that's mixed in with the literature, and it's just a really cool process. What about a graphic novel do you think, I guess, kind of draws a wide audience in? And do you think that graphic novels are for everybody?
I think what draws people into graphic novels is the art. Maybe the art that draws them in because sometimes the drawings are funny or they're cool and people just want to look at the drawings and read it because of it looks like it interesting.
For me, it's because maybe some people have like some graphic novels that are based off of movies. It could be also like their favorite movies, or it could also be about the genres. Because graphic novels can be horror or like any kind.
Yeah. So, what really I think draws people in initially is I know they always say don't judge a book by its cover, but as a librarian, that's not something I follow. And I'm not your typical librarian, though. So, uh, you absolutely judge a book by its cover, right? That's the first thing that you see. When you're picking up a book and you see a graphic novel, something like a mouse guard that has these really intricate details and drawings on the front cover, it makes you want to flip the page and see what's going to be happening next in that book. And then there's some graphic novels that just have a very plain cover with just a small image and a text. Then you open it up and it's just this massive world. So it's just you with a graphic novel, you never really know what you're going to get. So it's a little bit of that surprise of when you turn to the first page and you see something just explode out at you with these images. Uh, some of the graphic novels that I've read are some of the best written things that I've ever read as well. Because the author can't spend 40 pages describing what's happening in a scene, they maybe get 4 panels or 6 panels on a page, and they have to be able to convey everything that needs to happen in that story, the characters' motivations, what's moving the plot forward. All of that stuff needs to be shown in a very tight knit piece of writing that accompanies whatever artwork is with it. So I think just the kind of the mastery of what needs to go into creating a graphic novel really it makes me want to continue reading graphic novels and supporting these authors and illustrators so that they can continue to create these awesome things and expand the genre even more. We talked about how many graphic novels you've read. I know Haley I think has checked out about 60 this year. Jadelin has checked out a whole bunch as well. What are give me maybe your top five favorite just off the top of your head that you could recommend to someone else?
For me, it's the Babysitter Club's series. It's such a nice series because there's so many events that happen, and the drawings are just so nice.
Who would you recommend that for?
Um, maybe for everyone. Everyone can enjoy it.
Okay, but what like age group do you think?
Oh,
Like would
um,
I give that to a first grader?
if they can read, of course, if they can read words. Um, it could be like third to all the way to college or whatever, if
Okay.
people like it.
Haley, you have a recommendation for us?
I like Dogman a lot, and I know a lot of people like that book.
You and a few hundred million children.
Yeah,
What is it about Dogman that you think is makes it one of the most popular series of all time at this point?
I think it's that he's like a mixture of a dog and a human, and all his adventures, and he meets friends and all that stuff.
Excellent. Yeah, I know. I probably hear about 14 times a day. Mr. Baker, do you have a Dogman book? But not one in Spanish. I want one in English. I say, well, go check the graphic novel shelf. There's probably one over there. I will recommend another series, and this is more of a young adult series. This is Kami Garcia's Teen Titans series. Right now, there are 4 books. It's Raven, Beast Boy, Raven loves Beast Boy, or Beast Boy
Beast Boy
loves
loves
Beast Boy
Raven.
loves
Yeah.
Raven. One of those, they love each other, whatever. And the one that came out recently is Robin. This year, the next book in the series is coming out, Starfire. So I'm really excited to read that one. It's a really cool series that takes the Teen Titans, which is one of my favorite kind of groups of characters, and spins them into kind of a young adult style genre so that you can kind of see them growing up. And it's less about the fighting and more about them kind of growing together as people. Haley, do you have any other recommendations for us?
One recommendation would be Lumberjanes. It's a book about like girls that are in a camp and they have like adventures.
Okay, who would you say Lumberjanes is for? Like what age group would you think would it be
Maybe
appropriate for?
fourth and up.
Fourth and up. Okay. Jadelin?
For me, it's drama because it's about like
Drama.
the yeah, it's about drama. Yeah, and the grade level could be like fourth to up again because it's like just a book that it could be funny as well
Okay. What is drama about? Is it just a bunch of random dramatic people, or is it like why is it called drama?
because there's like some group of kids that are in like a drama club and they basically do like dramas.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's Raina Telgemeier. She's written all sorts of graphic novels for kind of middle grade, young adult,
Yeah,
like fourth, fifth grade and up. She did Smile, which is
guts.
Oh,
Guts.
I love Smile.
That
Sisters.
series, Sisters, which is hugely popular, which
Love
is really good. Uh, Before that, you weren't seeing too many graphic novels directed towards girls, and girls weren't really reading the graphic novels as much. So she really kind of burst onto the scene with her series and really drew a lot more people in. And she's had a lot of kind of influence on the graphic novel community in general. I think one final series that I want to recommend that I actually mentioned earlier is the Mouse Guard series. This is one of my favorite series I've ever read. Uh, First of all, the artwork is just incredible. I actually got to meet the author, uh, who actually does the art as well. And I got to talk to him for a few minutes, and he was selling prints. So I was able to buy an art print from one of his books, and he autographed it for me, and I have it hanging up at home. But what Mouse Guard is about is it's kind of like a almost like a medieval style, but it's all animals. So it's mice who go on adventures and they run into things that mice would run into in the wild, like giant snakes and birds. So they kind of have to navigate the forest going from town to town, being tiny little mice wearing armor and swords and stuff like that. So it really combines a couple things that I enjoy, like the fantasy adventure with incredible artwork. So if you haven't seen a mouse guard before, I would definitely check one out. Uh, I mean, that only scratches the surface uh, on graphic novels. I would highly, highly recommend Gene Luen Yang. He wrote one of my favorite graphic novels of all time, American Born Chinese. But he's written all sorts of things. He wrote Boxers and Saints. He wrote recently Dragon Hoops. He's written for DC Comics. He wrote a Superman where Superman was actually an Asian character. So he's really prolific in kind of the young adult scene. If you're more of a younger reader, check out the Narwhal series. They are hilarious. It's
I
about a narwhal. Have you read any
I
narwhals?
read all of them.
Yeah,
I read them all the time in first and second grade.
awesome. So go to your local library, go to your school library, see what kind of graphic novels they have to offer. If you've never read one, try one out. And until the next episode, this has been Lobos Read. Have fun reading.